see, we're just going to do a quick inventory. So we've got Justin Phil, don't mind me, Eric Connolly, Tim Dunn. Was that Todd? Did I see Todd a second ago? See, we're just going to do a quick inventory. So we've got, hold on one second. Justin Phil. Okay. Sorry about that. You can probably hear feedback. Okay. Dave Wood, Benny Slotnick, Maria, Penny. I know, oh, there's Rocky. So like I said, Justin Baker is going to be late. There's Brendan. There's Todd. Jeff Jones said he most likely is not going to be able to jump on. So in Tim's of Panic, you have more than a quorum. You're good. The only people not here are Justin Baker and Jeff Jones.
Okay. All right, we can get started then. So okay. I'd like to call to order the June 21st, 2021 meeting of the Saratoga County Prosperity Partnership. The first item of business is the adoption of the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, so we could vote on accepting the minutes from the last meeting. Everyone in favor?
So moved.
Second. Rocky, thank you. Okay.
And a vote on the motion?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So moved. Okay, the next item is the treasurer's report. Rocky?
Yes, provides treasurer's report. Basically, I'll go through the packet that you received relative to the financial statements, with the focus of the discussion being relative to the budget versus actual. So it has a sheet that has the line items for both the revenue and expenses, the actual amount that's been spent, the budgeted amount, and the percent of the budget. So that's what I'll focus most of my attention on, at least initially here. And when you look at this, this represents the actual expenditures and revenue through May 31st. So it represents about 42% of the fiscal year, which is a calendar year for the partnership. So 42% will be par, if you will, in terms of looking at the actual expenses in relationship to budget. So anything over 42%, raises a slight yellow flag in terms of is there issues there that need to be further reviewed and paid attention to. And when we look at the budget here, first looking at the revenue side of the ledger, if you will. We're about 30%, 29.29% of budget. The primary issue is the occupancy tax revenue. As everyone is aware, we have budgeted $450,000 that we received from the county. That we did receive a first quarter payment of $112,500. So that represents 25% of the budgeted amount. We have not received the second quarter revenues from the county at this time. I know the partnership staff has reached out to the county treasurer to get an understanding of the revenue that has come in relative to the bed tax to determine in terms of the billing amount. And despite several attempts to outreach, unless something happened today, there has not been any communication resulting from the treasurer's office providing the guidance needed to the partnership relative to billing for the second quarter. So I don't know, Shelby, if anything, or Amy, have anything else to add to that?
No, it's fine. No, I reached out to Drew Jarash, who does the collection, to see if there was enough funds to draw down for the second quarter, and I had not heard from him. And no blame, no harm, no foul. we're all set. We've been doing fine with the first quarter drawdown, and especially having the PPP loan that we had for the first quarter.
Right, exactly, exactly. And I fully concur with that. We'll get to that when we look at the statement of financial position in terms of our cash flow and things like that. Just point out now that it is solid, but that you can't go on, at some point we're going to need an infusion of additional revenue coming in to pay the bills that are out there. So moving on that, but the others are, the other revenue streams are in good shape. For the most part, in terms of expectations, et cetera. In terms of what we expect at this particular time. In terms of operating expenses, overall expenses, once again, most of the line items are below 42%. A couple exceptions to that. The database and information clearinghouse is at 50%. And that's more in terms of the data and things like that has to be made available. I do not anticipate going over budget on that through the rest of the calendar year or fiscal year. Computer expenses are at 45.65% of the budget amount. Part of that is the transition that occurred in terms of new office locations. And that goes with the next item also on office equipment. We have budget at $500. We've already spent $464 and 29 cents, which is about 93% of the budget. And that may go over between now and the end of the year, but it's a relatively small amount overall. And once again, most of that as a result of the move. So they were upfront expenses associated with the move at the early part of the year. Legal and accounting fees are just slightly above par at 47%. At this time, I do not see an issue relative to the legal and accounting fees going over budget. Shelby?
And that is primarily because the audit is done at the very beginning of the year, and I
Right.
think 8,700 of that.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the final one in terms of expenses over the par, 42% is digital subscriptions. We have budget 500. We're at 372. And once again, it's just a matter of when those payments are due in relationship to the year. So don't anticipate any problems with that. Overall, when you look at the expenses, it's slightly less than our revenue is about 30% to date. Our expenses are about 26% to date. So it reinforces Shelby's earlier observation that, in terms of we're not under any crisis situation relative to receiving the second payment from the county. Things are financially decent with that. So that's the comparative analysis of looking at the budget to the actual expenditures through May 31st. And what we have done, starting with this financial statement, what I've had the staff do is, rather than make it right the date right before the meeting, I'm doing it at the end of the month. It's much easier to have it at the end of the month to provide the information. It allows for more consistency versus discrepancies that may exist during the course of the month. So that's why it's much easier and cleaner doing it at the end of each month prior to the meeting date. In terms of statement of activity, nothing really to report on that. Basically, in terms of the revenues expenses, they relate back to the previous table in terms of revenues to receive expenses by those different line items. And once again, what I had the staff do is provide more consistency in terms of that relationship, in terms of what's listed on the budget line items versus the statement of activity, et cetera. So cleaning that up a little bit to make sure that the items match up a little more effectively in QuickBooks versus what's on the budget, et cetera. Statement of activity comparison. Once again, for our fiscal year now that we're in, it tells you the line item expenses, which is the same as the previous financial statements. And the purpose of this basically is to show the significant difference in revenue and expenses that have been occurred this year versus 2020. And it goes back once again in relationship the way that the staff was able to pivot and realize that we had to reduce our expenses substantially in light of the revenue reduction in revenue stream, and the great job that Shelby and Amy have done to achieve that particular objective. So we're staying within our budget in terms of our expenses and our expenses in relation to revenue received. So there's been some significant reductions, if you will, that have occurred, in particular on the staffing line items. Staff reductions have taken place. Our cost of our office-related expenses. Now we're in a co-sharing arrangement versus having our own location, as well as a significant reduction in expenditures associated with going on business trips and things like that, and marketing. Our marketing has been much more internal within the county and doing some outreach, but Shelby has not gone out to the various venues across the country, if not international, that had been done previously. And then finally, on the statement of financial position, to reinforce the fact, because I always look at the cash flow, a little paranoid about that to make sure that we can pay the bills. And as noted on the statement of financial position, in our two accounts, we have $130,000 in cash. So our cash flow is solid. In terms of our liabilities, a very positive note to report on regarding that. If you notice that the liability, one of our liabilities of $55,503 is the SBA loan, the second round of the SBA loan. It's great. It was in the staff report, but also I'm glad to announce excellent news that we did receive a letter from Adirondack Trust that payment has been received from the Small Business Administration for the entire amount of $55,503. Therefore, that is no longer a liability. It was received as it was a grant. It's no longer a liability. So thumbs up to that. So when you look at our total liabilities, it's $60,907. Over $55,000 of that was related to the PPP because it was considered a loan when the financial statement was prepared. But we just got the letter the other day, last week, if you will, eliminating the $55,000. So when you take that out, our total liabilities are about $5,000. So once again, there's no yellow flags that are out there relative to liabilities that we have to pay up or shut up, if you will, in the short term. So that's about it. And I'll have to report, the last sheet provides that comparative analysis of last year to this year. And once again, I don't see any reason to have to spend focus on that. Our attention is what we're doing this year and the reductions and how we've been able to pivot accordingly based on the financial reality that exists in terms of the operations of the partnership and how the staff has done a fantastic job relative to that. I do want to report one final thing before I let it go, is that we've talked about making revisions to the budget because the budget was prepared at the end of last year, and it doesn't reflect a lot of the changes that have taken place over the course of the last 5 months or so. So the staff has been in the process of revising the budget and there was going to be a meeting scheduled with the finance committee to review that before it went to the full board. And we're going to be talking about this shortly, I'm sure, with Shelby leaving the organization. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure where that is at this stage of the game and where it may be going relative to budget revisions. So that's where that stands right now in terms of, and the purpose of the revising the budget, once again, is to reflect the more realistic situation, in particular as it relates our revenues and expenses moving forward. So that's all I have to report, Chairperson and Maria, and take any questions anyone has, or Shelby or Amy could respond to any questions anyone has.
Thank you so much, Rocky. I do have a couple of questions. One is on the statement of financial position comparison, page 2 of 2. It looks like we have a debit balance in deferred revenue. And you don't have to answer my question now, but it looks like that it might be in need of a reclass. Or maybe you can just follow up with myself or the board later.
Definitely. Oh, is that the 2,500?
Yes.
Okay, that's Adirondack Trust. They were a sponsor of our economic index event in 2019. We were supposed to hold, I think, 4 events. We had 3, so we were deferring that until 2020, and there wasn't much we could do as far as events go in 2020. So that's just, that is for whomever is working at the organization. If you want to have future events and sponsorships, that's already teed up with Adirondack Trust.
So Adirondack Trust gave us the 2,500, or
Yeah,
someone?
they gave us 10,000, and so that was broken down into. They were the lead sponsor for the
Got it.
economic indices, which
Got
is an overall a study of different segments of the Saratoga County economy.
Got it. So that should have a credit balance, but it has a debit balance.
Okay, so that will be,
Yeah, I think that needs just a little of analysis and a correction, possibly, just possibly.
okay.
And then my other question was legal and accounting. And I'm looking for the page that I noticed that on, where we have a comparison of here it is, on the statement of activity comparison, page 2 of 3.
Okay.
It's account 5120.
Yep.
So we have in the current year $16.6 thousand that was spent, but last year it looks like there was
It's not
nothing.
showing. Yeah, and no, there was plenty of legal and accounting, and the basis for this year was we will get that exact number. I don't know why that did not show up here. That's strange.
Yeah.
Amy, do you have any insight into that?
Oh.
I mean, I think it's in the 40 range.
What I think part of it is, and I had this, the way it was allocated, identified in 2020, we had a legal category, legal expenses, and that's noted on 5107.
107. Yep.
7,519. I'm looking for the accounting one now, and I don't see it off the top of my head on the sheet here in terms of expenses. So in 2021, it's been combined in legal and accounting. In 2020, it was separated out.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, you've been realigning and cleaning up QuickBooks, so there might be more cases of that. Yeah, good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for picking that up. I missed that one.
Okay, no, it's okay. Any other questions from anybody else on the board for Rocky? All right, hearing none.
And Maria,
yes.
I'd just like to follow up in terms of the $2,500
Yes.
negative showing up relative to the revenue. Shelby, we received $10,000 from Adirondack Trust in a separate check. Is that, and we have not expended the 2,500. Is that correct?
We have not. We used the first 7,500, and since we only had 3 indices instead of 4, they said, "Don't worry, you can do it next year." And next year, we had a pandemic. So
now, if we don't do it next year, is there a point where we have to return that money to them?
I think it's a conversation with Charles Waite, and I think he's very flexible.
Okay, because that's what I'm wondering, Marie, in terms of how that's it's showing on there, because it's not revenue received. Even though we received a check, we have not received it should not be counted as revenue.
Right, because it hasn't been technically earned yet, so it would be correctly stated as a liability, but it's a negative liability here. So.
Got you. I know what you're saying. Okay, should be a positive liability. There you go. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it. Okay. Any other questions for Rocky or for Shelby? Okay, can we get a vote on Rocky's financial statements? To accept them?
So moved.
Move.
Or
Thank you,
second.
Tim and Dave. Okay, so we have to vote?
Yeah, vote on
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. All right, on to item 4, which is new business. I think I'd like to table the first item for executive session. So I'm going to move right on to the authorizing resolution for Startup New York programs. Shelby, would you like to talk about that?
Okay, yeah, sure. And if you don't mind, I'll also have Justin speak about this. So Spark Shop it's pretty much a graphic design firm that spun out of the Price Chopper supermarkets. They have been co-located with Precision Valve at their facility in Albany. And when Precision Valve went and purchased the former Sportsplex and Half Moon, they agreed to bring Spark Shop along with them. You know, the only challenge is that Spark Shop was in a Startup New York program down in Albany, and they wanted to continue those benefits. So Heidi Rial reached out to us through the SUNY Albany, our University at Albany, excuse me, Matt Grattan. And, you know, you might recall, I believe it was in March, where Matt came and gave a brief presentation about the Spark Shop program and the fact that they needed a host because this was outside of the jurisdiction. So essentially what this resolution allows the organization to do is sign a lease with the property owner, Precision Valve, and also lease that space, a portion of that space. They're going to take the veranda or the mezzanine on the second floor there. And it allows us to sub that back out so that they can continue to maintain the Startup New York program benefits, which primarily benefits their employees. And it's a great employee attraction and retention tool. Penny Hill actually administers this program on behalf of Hudson Valley Community College, and, you know, SUNY Albany or University at Albany does this in other areas. You know, Maria had asked me, you know, why would our organization do it? It's because we're a local development corporation. You know, some of these programs can have some, especially land-based, or when you designate incentive areas, can be a little quirky. So if you are outside of the designated land area that you're allocated, you do need that partner to be able to kind of spread the program out into other areas and continue working with the businesses that you're working with. So Spark Shop, through the program, you know, also has a relationship, specifically like an educational relationship. They work with interns and, you know, et cetera, with the college. So, you know, it provides a lot of, you know, binding resources, let's say, for that company to continue to grow, and also tie into the talent pipeline coming out of the college. So that's pretty much Justin. If you want to just talk about the technical aspects of the resolution, you know, it just authorizes the organization to go ahead and sign a lease, and then the relationship, similar to what we have with G&G Lighting, is we receive the rent check every month and we just cut the rent check right back out. We're a pass through, but we maintain, you know, close contact with the companies.
Yeah, that's a good summary of the transaction, and appreciate you tying it back into G&G. About 2 years ago, the partnership was approached for G&G Lighting and Half Moon for the same purpose. Some outreach had been done by University at Albany and Matt Grattan with respect to the IDA serving as a facilitator. It's very common for IDAs that own industrial parks and LDCs that own industrial parks to serve as a pass-through for these programs. In this particular case, a private landlord can own the land and have a public agency like an IDA or the partnership as an LDC serve as the pass-through non-recourse facilitator. A couple of years ago, P&G was moving the IDA past on acting as the Saratoga County-based public agency, and then the partnership was at the time willing to undertake the program on behalf of G&G. This is an exact replica. Spark Shop has a private landlord, and the proposition has been for the LDC, the partnership, to serve in the same capacity, taking a nominal lease that's non-recourse, no liability, fully insured, and then passing that same non-recourse sublease to Spark Shop to just get them into the program. The rental payments are the nominal activity of the public agency, the partnership, to achieve that goal. We're fully insured. There's an environmental compliance agreement, and all liabilities are taken on by the landlord and the tenant. So we're in a good position risk-wise. And incidentally, I don't have the project budget handy, Shelby, but there is an administrative fee that the partnership collects for deploying the transaction.
It's a minimum of $2,500, and then an annual maintenance fee of $1,000.
Yeah. So there's actual some revenue generation here that obviously helps the balance sheet. We visited a few minutes ago. So what we understand is that Spark Shop and their landlord, Provision Valve, want to close on their lease in the next month, and this resolution's on the partnership agenda for approval, and we'll look to close with them as soon as they're ready and collect that revenue.
Thank you, Justin.
Oh, and just one more note associated with this as well is that the client also does cover our legal fees for the transaction.
Okay. So are we going to vote on the approval of the authorizing resolution?
Yes, it's drafted as is, if anyone has any questions about that.
Okay. Yes, Penny, did you have a question?
Well, I was going to make a motion to approve it if there
Okay.
were no questions.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that if nobody has any questions. We're
I'll
gonna,
second.
thank you.
Who is the second? I'm sorry. Oh, thank you, Tim.
Okay, so can we vote on that?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, the motion is passed. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
folks.
Sure, Spark Shop will thank you as well. And SUNY Albany or University of Albany. I can't.
All of the above.
All of the above. Yeah.
Okay, Penny has graciously offered to do a presentation about the HVCC North Campus.
Just going to cue it up. Amy's got it there. I think you guys had it.
I have it. I will put it right up.
And then while you're queuing that up, it's just this is an economic development project as much as an educational project. We are looking at, by 2024, half the jobs in the country are going to be middle skill jobs that require some education, more than a high school, maybe not a 4-year degree. That's this is my spiel that I'm talking about, but I wanted to get the pictures up. So if you want to scroll a little further. It's going to be a building that is right adjacent to where the TechSmart building is in Malta. Most of you know where that is on Luther Forest, in the tech park, the STEP park. We have, it's proposed to be a 4,200 square foot. That's the TechSmart facility, but right next door, we're going to have the 1,400 square foot education center. We haven't got it named yet. We've already started fundraising. We're doing pretty well on the fundraising, so I'm excited about that. And what we're going to focus on are STEM careers, health sciences mostly, and other applied technologies. There's only going to be 4 laboratories, and there's going to be inside, there's going to be 3 classrooms other than the laboratories and some additional space for students to hang out. It's going to make it a real northern campus for the college. And it's going to be good because we have several hundred people commute right down 1,700 students are coming from the Saratoga County, Washington, Warren County, down right past where this is going to be. And many of them are interested in these healthcare fields. Right now in nursing, there's over 800 students on a wait list to go into nursing. So this won't be exclusively for nursing, but we call what is a meta major. Will be able to do their biology, anatomy and physiology, chemistry, and microbiology done at this site. And then by the second year, they can go down to Troy or go somewhere else. But we have meta majors so that if it's not nursing, then it might be radiation tech, or it might be something about ultrasound tech. We have all kinds of other pulmonary tech that require a lot of the same first year classes. We're also going to do an upgrade of TechSmart. The classrooms have kind of gotten, over the last 11 years, a little dated. And in anticipation of what may happen with the chip fabs coming up in this year, we're looking at expansion for possibly global foundries. We're not quite sure what the federal packages are going to be, but there's a lot of chatter that there might be money coming to New York about the chip fab, and we're going to look at seeing how we can best prepare that facility over there to educate the next generation of workforce for global foundries and any other chip type manufacturer. So we're going to change the clean room up. We're going to have an actual clean room instead of a mock clean room, including a new mechatronics laboratory. We're doing more with renewable energy, geothermal. We have residential and commercial wiring, HVAC. We have a lot of things that are going to be going in that, in addition to the early college high school program that most of you already know, and the P-Tech program. So we have been awarded a grant that we're working with Global Foundries on for apprentices, for New York State registered apprentices. We've already got about 15 of them in, and we hope to get a lot more. Is there another file there, Shelby, that you can?
Yeah.
That's it. This is what's going to look like right next to the TechSmart facility there on the right. It'll be, it's just south of that existing building. And this is good economic development for the region, because all the salaries that we hope to, generate after the degrees, you can keep scrolling. I think there's another page, isn't there?
Yeah, this is great. Yep.
Yeah. Keep going. And so this is all the things that I just said, but we've already begun, as I said, the fundraising campaign. We have a couple co-chairs in the county, and we'll be doing more. You'll probably hear more about it later. We're hoping to go to the supervisors meeting coming up. Todd will be in touch. There's some of the data that we have, and the needs are great for this. So if there's any thoughts or questions, I mean, I'll have these as we go about our distributions through the county, and you can see what we've got in mind. Our architects are pretty much done with it. They're going to move it through for the final approvals. There's one of our co-chairs, Ken and Sherry Gray. They're Mechanicville based, and Brian, I think it's
Brian and Cindy Holloman.
yeah, that's Cindy, and they're both grads. I mean, they're helping us with it. So that was my presentation. I just wanted to make the group aware that this is happening. It's another big step for the college, and it doesn't. I don't think it's made the news yet, but now it might. So there we
Very
go.
impressive. Very impressive, Penny.
I have a question for Penny. Hi, it's Supervisor Connolly.
Hi, Eric.
Hi. The clean energy section of the new building, not clean energy, rather clean room.
Same room, right? Okay.
Can you elaborate a little bit about what they'll be focusing on there? I know what a clean room is, but.
Sure. So we had the generosity of Global Foundries to take a tour through there and show us what they really wanted. We said we can't do anything in isolation. In terms of what we do for education, we have to have partners in the industry to guide us. And they wanted to have an actual clean room, changing space that mimics what they have in the fab. So the gowning up, the bunny suits. We had a mock clean room, which didn't really have the real effect with the negative pressure or the cleanliness or the airlock. So that's what it's going to have. It's going to be moving through the steps that they would take in the actual fab instead. And it would save time, because when somebody first starts it, I went through that process. It can take 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and they lose time. People are much faster once they've done it several times. So if we make it into a real clean room, that's one step that they won't have to go through. They'll be able to, get into these suits just like a fireman jumping into their fire suit to go out to a fire. They'll be much quicker. And also to have the actual air pressure be what it would be in a clean room. And the tools in there, we already have. The tools are, I call them Barbie doll size tools that are used by the students to make wafers, the wafers that would be used in a, well, it's nothing like what they make in the fab, because but it takes several steps, but the deposition and the layers of the electronics and the washing and the cleaning. And when they come out, they have a little small mini size. It's almost like the size of a CD. That would be what a small imprint on there that would look like what they would make in the fab, only there's as much time, the millions of circuits instead of probably 50 like what they do. But it's a real close, it's much more in the vacuum lab we're going to have, and that closely imitates the simulation of what they do in the fab as well. So everything that we're adding to TechSmart is mostly to help our students going through the program to become adept at their job as technicians, and then taking that one step further with the apprenticeship so that they can step into an entry-level job, and then over 2 years progress up to, with 5 different classes, they'll be one step closer to a degree if they wanted to go that far.
So, yeah, if I may jump in. Hey, Penny. Hi, everybody. I know you're working with other people, not me on this as appropriate, but, appreciate the support. Certainly love the collaboration, given the proximity of the campus and given our history, this makes a ton of sense, and concur with everything that you're saying. The more realistic you can make the learning environment, a lot easier the transition will become for the students that come across and become employees. So all good stuff. And again, continue to support each other in this. So thanks for the explanation.
Thank you.
If I could ask a question for Penny, your numbers there, you're calling these middle jobs that won't be a little more than a high school education, but not quite a 4-year degree or even a 2-year degree. I'm seeing a lot of the trade unions advertising now that their kids can come out of high school and, in a 4 years in the apprentice program, graduate and be making, a ton more money than a college graduate who's got, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Where do you see these positions fitting in the salary scale after this program?
Well, that's up to Global Foundries right now. They're our prime customer, but they've also been hired by GE down at their digital mammography. But they're maybe 30s to 50s, depending on their skill level and their shift they're on. If they're on the midnight,
Right.
12-hour shift. But
Okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but thank you.
yeah, no, that's Global Foundries numbers, not mine.
Supervisor
And that
Zlotnick,
sounds about right, Penny.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I could add to that a little bit. Supervisor Zlotnick, I have a young adult in my life right now who is looking at getting a contractor job at GE Healthcare. And they start off at 18 bucks an hour. They're not full-time jobs, they're subcontracted, and if they do well and a job opens up full-time, then there's a pay increase there. So
Thank you.
I can just add too, a lot of these jobs lately are offering signing bonuses. So, the ones that are in demand. And, I'm not speaking for Brendan necessarily, but I know up in Vermont, technicians are getting a signing bonus, and, they are doing very, very well here at the Global Foundries Fab. And I think on a regular basis, you have about 100 job openings available, is my understanding.
Really appreciate everyone just tooting our horn and telling everyone how great we are today. That's all sounds about right, but thank you. And that's appreciated, and that sounds right.
Great. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much, Penny.
No action needed.
Okay, we can go on to the president's report.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep this relatively short and sweet. We talked about on June 14th, I submitted my letter of resignation. I've been offered a new opportunity that allows me to grow personally and professionally. I just wanted to thank the board of directors, also the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors, for the opportunity to lead this organization for the past year and a half. As challenging as it has been, it's been a tremendous learning experience that I will have with me for a very long time, and I'm grateful for this. And I'm here to provide any level of support, cooperation, not only over the next few weeks until July 9th, my last day, but if anything arises afterward, I'm here to support you. I want to see Saratoga County and the organization and whatever transition plan succeed. So as we had talked about, we have loan forgiveness. That means that PPP loan is now considered a grant, and it's no longer a liability on the books. So I was very relieved to see that. It has been very, very helpful for the first quarter of the year, especially when we did not know the status of what the bed tax was going to look like. And, as Saratoga County has gone through some transitions. So that worked out beautifully. And, we're leaving this with, roughly $130,000 with money in the bank. And hopefully in the second quarter, when those funds come in, one of the reasons why I don't want to go to the Economic Development Committee until we really know that the funds have been collected by Saratoga County, because we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we've collected more than the county has actually collected at this point. And that was also the reason for recasting the budget and putting together a much more conservative budget. But as you probably have all seen, since some of these restrictions have been lifted in New York State, it looks like our hospitality and tourism business is roaring back, and it looks like bed tax is coming back. And my friends at the Convention and Visitors Bureau are also telling me that rates for hotels are also increasing significantly. So it looks like, you've got a great chance for the rest of the year to have that bed tax come back. I'm going to jump right into workforce housing and childcare initiatives. Started working with an organization called Tech Valley Transportation, as well as the Saratoga County Employment and Training Center, Captain, and we're also pulling in private employers to try to provide some solutions to our employers that are struggling to find workforce. And, the CDTA has wonderful pilot programs that are in the works in Southern Saratoga County, and I know they're talking to Saratoga Springs, but Tech Valley Transportation also can go into areas that CDTA just does not cover, and can provide, special routes similar to the way that school districts actually, map out where people live, employees and folks, and provide transportation solutions based on shifts, other things like that. So that is underway, but it is not going to be abandoned, because we've got the folks at Employment and Training, as well as Tech Valley Transportation, and we're looping in some of the other organizations through Saratoga County to provide that support and connection with employers to see this get off the ground. I had probably talked many, many times, but still waiting to find out about the federal grant that was submitted for a child care training program. So that will be administered by the Warren County Employment and Training Center, but it was done in collaboration with Saratoga Partnership, as well as the other organizations that we were working with. So luckily, hopefully that is going to move forward. And the whole idea is to increase the availability of childcare, have people open up their own at-home centers in areas throughout Saratoga and Warren County. It'll help serve underserved communities, provide meaningful workforce training to folks who want to do this. And so hopefully we'll see more from there and increase the availability, because that has been a big limiting factor in keeping people from rejoining the workforce. And we also have a project, I believe it made through the planning stage in the city of Saratoga Springs, but we have a combined workforce housing project, and we're able to bring in a childcare provider, and now they're going to be providing 71 spots for childcare, and also a full workforce training center where they're going to Bright Side Up, which is formerly Capital Region Child Care Council, is going to help upskill some of the folks and provide the necessary accreditation for the people that are going to be working at the child care center. And we also have another coding organization on board to have a center for providing coding training and software training. So that's where we're going. The Northern Towns program, we've got an MOU put together for those towns to work together and sign in a intermunicipal cooperation. And also BN Communications has also put together a marketing proposal that the communities are considering. Ballston Spa, a lot of their action plans are underway. The town of Galway Next Wave. Before I go, I'm going to put together that report. It shouldn't be that complex, but they're also working on the other plan, which is a senior housing feasibility study that we help facilitate. The Saratoga County Economic Development Fund, I've got one in hand right now for the July meeting, Supervisor Barrett, and also another one that should be coming in tomorrow, but that's underway, and I can help you provide some guidance. I mean, the partnership has facilitated that, but I think it will move forward very, very well. We brought in $71,000 worth of programs at last month's meeting. The USDA Rural Business Development Grant, there's roughly $65,000 left in that coffer. And I spoke to the program administrator this week. There's a sunset coming up for that program, but all I have to do is write a letter or requesting an extension, and those funds are available for the partnership and whomever to use for community economic development moving forward. And yeah, so that's about it. And I won't take any more of your time. I know that, Tim had to jump off because he had a 4:45 meeting. So
I just want to say from my perspective, and I'm sure from the board members I'm speaking on behalf of, Shelby, you've done an excellent job, bringing energy and help, especially, the town of Wilton has been the beneficiary of grants that have been given to local business and through the Prosperity Partnership. So I just wanted to thank you, for your work. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so I would like to do the executive session, and I don't imagine it will take very long, but Shelby, will you hand over the controls? And then do we have to close the meeting publicly? So in other words, we'd have to come back to this meeting to close it?
No, I think we just have to have a vote. You need a vote to go into executive session. And then what I will do is I'll stop recording and make sure that the YouTube channel is off. And if you need me off, all I have to do is just change the host. So it's up to you.
Just for clarification, this is Justin. A vote to go in for personnel issues, which I presume is the basis, is fine, at which time the recording can be shut off. If the board doesn't anticipate undertaking any business after the executive session, it could be closed, and then the regular session reopened and immediately closed. And just make sure somebody takes note of what time that occurs, and that can be included in the formal minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Maria, before we go in, I just want to also comment about Shelby's leadership that she's provided to the partnership. And she's been an excellent president to the organization. It's been a very challenging time during a period of transition, and she's acted as professional as anyone can act given the circumstances, continuing to work very effectively with our partners in the public, private, and not-for-profit sector. So she did a fantastic job, and providing the professional support and the expertise in achieving the mission that we have available, despite the many challenges that exist over the last year. But stay focused on the mission of the organization and providing the services that were necessary to our clients throughout. So Shelby, thank you and good luck to you as you proceed in the next phase of your professional career. You've done a fantastic job. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like
No,
to support that and say almost the same thing. I won't use quite as many words, but I appreciate everything that Shelby has done. You've been doing it for a long time. So you've had a real good, strong, positive impact in Saratoga County. And I wish you the best in the future, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully my next opportunity, we won't have a pandemic happen a couple months into it. So anyway, but again, thank you so much, the board. Again, continuing board members, new board members, it's been a pleasure working with you all. And you never know where people end up. Hopefully we'll have a chance to work together in the future, but I've got a real opportunity for growth, both personally and professionally. So I'm excited about that. But my heart will always be here in Saratoga County, as well as my family. So I want you all to succeed very much so. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion, or actually I'd like to suggest that a motion is made to close the public meeting.
Or to go into
Go
executive
into
session.
executive session.
And yeah, I would suggest a motion to go into executive, and then we can come out later on without going live on the tape again.
Okay, thank you. So can I get a second?
Oh, there was a first?
Was that just,
No, he's the attorney.
okay.
I was just clarifying. I apologize. Someone
No,
could make
that's okay.
and the basis should be stated for an allowable purpose, I presume, for personnel issues.
Yes,
So Eric, you moved to go into executive session for personnel matters?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rocco. Okay,
Okay, that's 4:52. I'm turning off the recording.